Hey, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and my project today is for the Elizabeth Craft Designs October Challenge, which was to create a Christmas card. So I used two stamp sets. I used the Holiday Trees and Ornaments stamp set. So I stamped the pine tree there, the little star, and then the tree topper. And I did stamp 6 of those little stars. And then I used the Winter Bears set. So I stamped the 2 small bears, the big trees, and then I stamped a bunch of the small trees that are on that stamp with the bear with the scarf there. So I'm just cleaning the ink off the rest of the stamp and just stamping those 2 little trees there to his right. And I'm stamping this all in Memento Tuxedo Black ink onto some alcohol marker friendly cardstock, because I'm going to be coloring with my Spectrum Noir. So for my Christmas tree, I am using the DG4 Illustrator marker, and then I'm going to add shading with the JG6 to the branches. So the JG6 is a regular Spectrum Noir marker, and I'm just dotting it here and there under the snow on the branches to add just a little bit of shading. And the nice thing was those colors are close enough that it adds some subtle shading, but I didn't really have to blend them. Now my trees, I base coat in DG2, which is an Illustrator marker, and then I'm adding shading with DG3. So I knew I was going to have my glowy Christmas tree in the middle. So like these trees are going to be to the right of that tree. So they're going to be darker on the right side and lighter on the left side, as you see there. And then I also have trees that are going to be on the left side of the Christmas tree. So those are the opposite, like darker on the left side, lighter on the right side. And my Christmas tree trunk is TN7 with a little bit of TN8 for shading. And I color my birds with DR1. And then the scarf on the bear, I used LY1, which is an Illustrator marker, to do all those like skinny lines. And then I used the DR1 to fill in the spaces, which was a little tricky, but I was very light-handed and it worked out okay. Now for this bear, he's going to be darker on the left than the right because he's going to be on the left side of the tree. So the shadows, I started with IG2 and then I'm blending out with IG1. And then I'm going to add darker shadows with IG4. And then I'll blend with the IG2 and again the IG1 to kind of smooth out the blend. And then his nose is going to be IG6 and I'll add shading with IG8, which is pretty subtle, but you can see it if you look at it closely. And then for the other bear, I will basically do the exact same color combination, but it's going to be like the opposite. So he's going to be darker on the right side because he's going to be on the right-hand side of the tree and lighter on the left. So I base coated the shadows with IG2, darkening the shadows with IG4. Then I will blend out again with the IG1. Well, I'm blending with IG2. And then I'll blend out the whole thing with IG1. There we go. And then his nose again will be IG6 with shading with IG8. And I will add a little bit of PP1 to their ears and their cheeks for just a little bit of pink cheek and ear action on my critters. And I do wind up using 3 of the small trees. I don't use any of the large trees, so you wouldn't need to stamp those. And then I have 6 of those small stars that you see right above the bear. I will color those with like a yellow, but I wind up covering them with Nouveau glitter drops, so you don't really need to color those. Now for my tree, I've created a mask. So I've cut the matching die out of a piece of all over Post-it note that you see there. And I've just stuck it down to a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock. So I'm going to create the glow. So I've got scattered straw and my blending tool. It's Distressing Scattered Straw. I'll say that 5 times fast. And I'm just very lightly blending it from the mask onto the cardstock. And now I'm taking Blueprint Sketch Distressing and I'm going just a little bit into that glow, but I'm being very light-handed because I don't want to like cover up the glow. I just want to kind of overlap it lightly. And then I'm going to get darker as I go away from the glow. And now I'm going to go even darker with chipped sapphire. So I'm going to blend that into the blueprint sketch. And now I'm going to blend in Dusty Concord to darken it even more as we go away from the glow. And then I'm going to blend back a little bit with the chipped sapphire. And then I'm going to add black soot to really darken up the very top and the side edges. Because the sky's going to get darker as we go away from the glowy tree. And now I'm blending back with the Dusty Concord into the black soot. And then I will go back into the chipped sapphire to blend that more. And then I'm going to actually go back to the Dusty Concord and blend a little bit more. And then finally I will blend again with the blueprint sketch. And that's kind of my way of doing these distressing blends. I tend to blend back and forth between the colors to get a smoothish blend. Now that's where my die cut tree is going to go, and I pulled off the mask. And this is a die called Adventure Edges. I'm calling it the Rolling Hills die. And so I'm just using that to get my placement of where the snowbank is going to be. And now I'm dotting in stars into the night sky with a white glaze pen. And I'm going very light-handed, so tiny light dots towards the bottom. And then I'm going more heavy-handed towards the top. So I get like more visible stars the further away you go from the lighting. And then my snowbank, I'm adhering down with some 10mm double-sided adhesive tape. And this is actually going to go behind the tree, but over the area where the mask was. And just trimming it down. And then here's my die cut out tree and my stars. And I'm going to glue the stars on with my Quickie glue pen. And I do glue 6 of the stars onto the tree. And then I glue the topper on top of the bird at the top. Sorry about the bird. And then the snowbank in front of the tree is actually like it's like the piece that was left when I die cut the Adventure Edges hillside. So I just flipped it over and I'm placing it in front. And then those are my 3 sets of small trees that I've die cut out. And I'm just placing them like so in the background. And then my bears are going to go in front, as you see there. So I'll be adhering down that front snowbank with some foam tape to give it a little bit of dimension. I want it to be, clearly in front of that back snowbank and a little bit removed from it, but not too much, because when I do the shadows, it's obviously not too far away. But it adds a little dimension to my nighttime foresty scene. So then I'm going to add shadows to the snowbanks, because at night, when you think about it, the snow isn't white. It's really more like gray or black. So anywhere that the glow from the tree isn't hitting the snowbank, it's going to be at least gray. So I'm using my IG1 marker initially, and then I'm using IG2 on the back snowbank to deepen down the shadows, and then I will blend that back out with the IG1 to make it look like snowbanks at night with the glow from the tree hitting them. And I'm just really being very kind of loose and sketchy. I'm not trying to be too precise or too accurate, obviously, but I'm just going for the effect. And then when I adhere down, then I'm going to add some shadows, more deepen the shadows on the trees. So I'm using the IG4 and the IG2 to deepen the shadows on the edges. So like the left edges on the left-hand trees, the right edges on the right-hand trees. Because really they would probably be almost black during the night, but I'm not going for super realism here. And then I also need to add shadows behind the bears, because the bears are lit from behind, trees behind them, so their bodies are going to cast a shadow behind them, since the light is coming from, their fronts, I guess. That makes sense. You know what I'm saying. So again, I'm just kind of sketchily drawing in these shadows with my IG2 And since they're both kind of on either side of the tree and in the front, the shadows kind of angling off made sense to me. Now I'm using 6mm, 3mm adhesive tape and then foam tape to adhere down the bears. So where their heads go above the snowbank, they get foam tape so they stay straight with that snowbank that's in front. And then where they're on the snowbank, they just get regular adhesive tape. Now to add a yellow kind of lighting glow to the snow and the trees and the fronts of the bears, I used the scattered straw and I watered it down a lot and then painted it on with a brush. Now my greeting is All is Calm, All is Bright from the Holiday Cheer stamp set. I'm stamping it with Versamark ink because I want to emboss it in silver embossing powder. And I use my Misty on the chance that I would need to stamp it twice, because the Misty will let you stamp it twice in the exact same place. So always good for when you're direct stamping onto a card because you don't want to mess it up. So there's my silver embossing powder, and then I'm setting it with my heat tool, and hopefully you can tell it is really bright and shiny. And then because I gotta have glitter on any card, I had some Spectrum Noir sparkle marker in clear to all the snow on the trees and then the front snowbank to finish this off with like a nice Christmassy glow. And then I adhered the entire thing down to the front of a top folding A2 size card base made from 100-pound white soft finish cardstock using 10mm adhesive tape. And that is the completed project. And you can't really tell in the photos. Unfortunately, like the saying or the greeting looks kind of dark in the photos, but it's actually pretty bright and you can see it no problem in person. So hopefully you get that idea. And there is some close-ups of the coloring. I was really happy with how it came out, and I hope I inspired you with a little bit of an idea of how to create a fun, like Christmassy glow in a night sky with stress inks, and then how to color those adorable stamps with some Spectrum Noir markers. Thank you so much for watching. Supplies are linked in the video description and over on my blog. And please check out either my blog post or in the video description for a link to the Elizabeth Craft Designs post where you can see all of the other designers' great creations. Thanks so much. Have an amazing day.